Hello and welcome to a special emergency last minute James Bond radio episode. Obviously, yesterday they released the very first pieces of behind the scenes footage to Spectre, so I thought I'd jump on quickly and have a little bit of a chat about it. I should say, obviously, if you're trying to avoid all spoilers, then just press stop now and don't go any further, because I'm going to be doing a little bit of Spectre speculating and all that kind of stuff and analysing the parts of the footage that we've got. So if you want to avoid everything, then just press stop now. Okay. Sadly, Chris isn't with me because he's decided to not watch it. He wants to opt out of any potential visual spoilers. I remember when I very first met Chris back at the Ian Fleming centenary event, I think which 2008, I think it was, when they played a little snippet of Quantum of Solace. He was literally just rocking backwards and forwards in his chair, humming to himself with his eyeballs jammed in his eyes and his thumbs jammed in his ears. And that was the first time I met him. So I can understand where he's coming from. And you got to respect that. So it's just going to be me flying solo this time. But obviously we'll be back with our normal programming next week. So first things first, the first bit of behind the scenes Spectre footage interview-ness. So I guess first impressions are, it looks a lot like Honor Majesty's, doesn't it? It's kind of, you've got the setting, the beautiful lake, you've got that kind of little facility at the top of the mountain, which kind of looks, you could be forgiven for thinking it's like a modern version of Pete's Gloria. You've got the cable cars, you've just got the whole look of the entire thing. It just screams Majesty's. Now, I haven't read the kind of script leaks or anything like that, so I don't know if that's the vibe they're going for. And if you know that is what's happening or not, don't tell me because I don't want to know. But that's just my initial reactions anyway. Now, next up, curiously, we still haven't seen any Michael G. Wilson this time around, have we? He wasn't at the Pinewood event when they announced the title. He hasn't shown up in these behind the scenes kind of films. So one's got to wonder what's happened to Michael G. Maybe he has said in recent years, isn't he, that the amount of energy that Bond films take to make, perhaps he's kind of just getting a bit tired and doesn't really want to be spending his time up a mountain in the freezing cold. So, fair play to him. But this time we get Greg Wilson, which I believe is his son. So we can see the kind of the next generation of the family kind of being groomed to kind of take over. And he's got the role of associate producer this time. Now, looking on IMDb, apparently he has worked on some Bonds before. He's got credits on Quantum of Solace and Skyfall as well, so that's kind of interesting. But yeah, it's kind of cool to see the next generation that will obviously take over from Barbara and Michael G at some stage in the future. So that's a good little nod to notice there. One thing that kind of worried me a little bit, well, not worried me, but because they always have to say it, is they said in there, how are we going to top Skyfall? That was a discussion that Sam Mendes had apparently, and they say that Spectre is the way they're going to top Skyfall. So whether that means bigger, louder, more action or not, I don't know. Who's to know? We won't know until we see it, but it's interesting to say the least. And I always worry when they say they try and top the last one, because you never know what might happen. You might end up with all sorts of CGI nonsense and big stunts and all that kind of stuff. So fingers crossed. But anyway, so looking at actually what we see in this little video segment, a couple of kind of key shots that I thought were worth mentioning. We've got the shot from inside the helicopter, and you can see it's kind of flying out over the lake. And then we see what I believe is the little house that we saw as the very first thing being built months and months ago. The very first thing the very first set that was being built. So that was featuring in the background. Other than that, there's not much else to say about that really. But next up, there's a little sequence where we see a Jeep being driven along, and we see the camera sort of filming through the windshield of the Jeep. Now in the back, we definitely see Léa Seydoux. She's in the back of that Jeep. No question about that. But one thing I'm not sure of is I think in the passenger seat, that might be Batista, or Mr. Hinks, as we should call him, I suppose. I think that might be him, or it might just be like some other random heavy, but I don't know. The light's really tricky. It's hard to see, but I think that might be Batista, and I think he's got a gun trained on Léa Seydoux. So interesting. Make of that what you will. Now, the other interesting thing is the little kind of snippet of the cable car that we see. Now, what's interesting about that is we don't know who's in the cable car, but I put it onto HD mode on YouTube and kind of did a bit of freeze framing. I wager that is Bond and Q in that cable car. I think Bond is Bond has got his back to us, and opposite him is someone who's considerably more of slighter build. So I think that's probably Q giving Bond his gadgets and having a little clandestine meeting out in the open. So have a look at that, see what you think. If you kind of stick it onto HD mode and blow it up into full screen, hopefully you should see that. But I don't know, the guy who's got his back to us, he kind of looks to me like he's Daniel's build. So that's my assumption anyway. And then to finish up, we get a little glimpse of the man himself, who's wearing a rather fetching black ski kind of outfit type thing. Not to mention the amazing goggles. So basically, obviously you've probably seen it if you're listening to this, but obviously Bond kind of just bursts into the frame, knocks the guy down, shoots him, and then looks into the middle distance at the jeeps and the vans and whatever it is in the background, kind of driving off. And that's our glimpse of Bond. So yeah, he's in full on Alpine mode. He's not wearing a banana yellow ski suit with a red backpack, sadly. But we'll live with what he's got. I think it's a fashionable choice, and I think the sales of those goggles will go through the roof almost immediately, providing Remit at the Bond Lifestyle website tracks him down soon enough. And the other last point to notice is the gun he's using is apparently a Heckler & Koch VP9. So yeah, he's not carrying a Walther there apparently. But any of our listeners, if you want to confirm that and look into that weapon a little bit more, that'll be good. Okay then, so that's all from me. I just wanted to get my thoughts out there quickly. So make sure you come and join us on Facebook and Twitter and all that kind of stuff, and let us know what you think. Have a look through and see anything that I've mentioned there. If you agree, if you don't agree, anything that you've perhaps spotted that I haven't. Obviously, again, if you're really clued up with spoilers and stuff, don't spoil it for the rest of us, but anything that you can comment on without sort of being overly spoilery would be much appreciated. Okay, so we've only got a few days left on the JBR t-shirt campaign, so if you haven't ordered yours yet, make sure you order your JBR t-shirt now, because you'll run out of time and you won't be able to get them after this. This is just like a one-off thing. It's not like you can leave it till later and buy one in a month or so. It's like it's now or never, as Elvis Presley said. Anyway, that's all from me. I've been Tom Sears. This has been a special James Bond Radio, a special report on Spectre, and I'll see you next week as usual.